Welcome, everyone. We are happy to have you join us today for a webinar that's all about discussing should you trust data from your network element vendor. We will share real life case studies where customers encountered significant challenges. These cases all shared a common thread: long struggles with network element vendors who refused to acknowledge their mistakes until confronted with irrefutable evidence, as we will share with you. Today's webinar is live and scheduled for about 30 minutes. It is not a typical voice monitoring lecture. We are bringing you real life stuff, not just theory. Let's do a little housekeeping before we start. We have a large audience, so all participants will be placed on mute. Videos will be turned off. If you have any questions along the way, don't be shy and put them in. We'll address them later on. Without further ado, let me welcome our speakers for today, Eyal, Ullert, and Michael Wallbaum. Eyal has 30 years of experience in the telecommunications, mobile, VoIP, and broadband industries. He's one of VoIP Future founders, and he now leads our sales and marketing. Michael is VoIP Future's Director of Product Marketing. He has 30 years of experience in the telecom domain from various angles: product manager, consultant, and researcher. Guys, take it from here.
Thank you, Lila.
Thanks, Lilach. Thanks for the introduction. We'll see about those 30 minutes. That's what we aimed for, but I couldn't let go of some of the cases, so I guess we'll overrun a bit, but you can always watch later if you don't have the time, the recorded session. So before we jump into the stories, let me just give you some context as usual. So who we are, what we do, and why we're in a position to talk about issues in telco networks and issues with network element vendors. So VoIP Future was founded in 2007 in Hamburg in Germany, and our mission from day one was to enable premium voice service quality. And we do so with a very unique and patented technology for assessing, aggregating, analyzing, and visualizing voice quality information, and basically delivering better data-driven insights into communication service provider networks and also enterprises. The technology supports any standard voice over IP technology, so voice over NR, voice over LTE, voice over Wi-Fi, IMS, NGN, and enterprise services. The solution works on-prem and in hybrid mode, but also entirely in AWS and GCP cloud environments. And we typically target the tier one communication service providers, and we have a large installed base around the world and also a long history. Remember, founded in 2007. So there's a lot of stories that we were part of or could watch unfold over the years. Our main product is called Qrystal. It's a passive voice over IP analytics solution. Like I said, applicable to all standard voice over IP voice services. And it basically integrates voice quality assurance and root cause analysis using patented technology. There's typically the Qrystal probes will be placed around the network, receiving copies of the traffic straight from the network. They will process the traffic in real time in memory and then send quality summaries to a central component, which then provides a user interface and possibilities to export to third-party systems, post-processing, etc. So everything is done there. So that was basically it in terms of the introduction. You will see some screenshots later on. That's why I had to do this. We have 4 to 6 stories, depending on how you count it, today. And like I said, I couldn't let go of some. And this first one, Eyal and I had a bit of a discussion about whether to bring it or not. I personally think it's very, it's still entertaining after all these years. Why Eyal wanted to skip it, we can discuss later on. But this story is called One Morning at a Major Bank, or Why You Don't Understand Your Boss. And it's probably one of the oldest, or the first incident that we have on record. So you see the screenshots are a bit coarse, and the date at the bottom shows 2010, so that's when this all happened. And on the left side, you see the MOS score distribution on a regular day, or how it was typically. And when the head of operations logged in, that said morning on the 27th of October, he saw a bit more colorful picture. And basically, what happened was that at 8 a.m., the CEO of that bank wanted to make an important announcement, and not just in a select group, but with 1,500 participants. So, before the invention of Teams, etc., that was a standard telephone conference on a bridge with 1,500 participants. And after 15 minutes, massive problems were audible with the voice quality. And after the call ended, everything was fine again. So obviously, especially since it was the CEO who wanted to have this call, operations started to scramble, and what they saw was this picture here, a screenshot from Qrystal, where each line basically shows one RTP stream coming from the firewall, and each of the stripes is corresponds to 5 seconds, and basically the coloring scheme explains itself. So green is excellent, obviously, and red is problematic. And so basically, sorry, basically what you see here, that after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, like the first issues appear sort of like in waves. And then after 15 minutes, the CEO basically can't be heard. Of course, since he was the one doing the talking, everyone stayed in, and he didn't. I mean, he heard himself, obviously, so he just continued. But while this was ongoing, operations already did some analysis of those streams coming from the firewall, and they all basically looked like this. So here on the bottom left, you see the interarrival times of packets. So basically the jitter, and packets mainly arrived in 20 millisecond intervals, so no jitter, but substantial loss of every kind. Burst loss with 10 packets or more lost in sequence, and very few packets arriving in between. So severe loss. So basically, really, no one could hear anything. At noon, already the firewall vendor Checkpoint was contacted, and basically they responded quickly, and they said, "Yeah, we know. The workaround is to just switch off the SIP application layer gateway." So it was, they were completely fine, uh, but the feature was paid for, and there was no communication about any potential restrictions. So Eyal, I remember, if I remember correctly, the head of operations gave us a call that same day, basically thanking us for still having a job, right?
Yeah, actually, this was like you said, this was a not funny story from the perspective that just imagine after the call ended, the CEO understood that 15 minutes he was providing information that was not heard by anyone. Look, this is it could look completely different from the monitoring aspect. Without hard evidence, the response from Checkpoint would be completely different. So here in this case, you have hard evidence, what happened, when happened, and Checkpoint could immediately confirm that they had an issue and how to resolve that in the future.
Right. By the way, one thing that I wanted to mention in the introduction, if you follow us on LinkedIn or were in touch with us and heard any of those stories that we collected over the years, we typically don't mention the vendor because it really doesn't matter. I mean, if it's software and there will be bugs in software as long as for the foreseeable future. So every network element vendor, every software developer on this planet is, um, yeah, uh, will be affected or by this, and there will be problems in any case with any vendor. However, this time only we made an exception just to make the point that it's really everyone on the market, and you will see a couple of names, very well known names in the following, and yeah, just to let you know that this is not to put someone on the spot or something. This is at least not for this quality of the software. Maybe put them on the spot for not being open about mistakes, and as we will see in the next example, which is which we call ghost voices. And actually, it looked at first like a crosstalk, but so basically, there was a tier one fixed network provider that was getting tickets from very, very concerned enterprise customers, and they were concerned because they heard in their calls voices of unknown people. And obviously, they were very irritated because they rightfully thought, okay, if I can hear someone else in my conversation, the other way around might also be true. Someone can be listening in to my conversation. And since one of those customers affected was a political party, they obviously freaked out, and this escalated pretty high up to the tier one network provider. So basically, when we were involved in this, when the network provider involved us in this, everyone was clueless at first because ghost voices or crosstalk or however you want to call it, they were an issue in the analog world if you didn't have your cables sheeted well enough, and then sort of voice or electric signals could spill over, and you could listen into someone else. So that was not that uncommon. But in an IP world, how should the voice signal encoded in one packet spill over and mix into a different call? So that was a complete mystery at first. And after some analysis, also this could be excluded. However, what we found out was that in all of the reported conversations, Cisco Media Gateways played a role. And so the CSP then called Cisco, sort of, can you help us? But Cisco bluntly refused to become active as long as there's no trace provided as proof. So they wanted to have a Wireshark trace. Otherwise, they wouldn't, open up a ticket or start an investigation. So then the tedious part began. We set up a packet recording job in Qrystal and with a cooperating customer, and yeah, had to listen in to a number of conversations until we found the one where this was really recorded and proven, and yeah, you could indeed hear the ghost voices or the voices of another conversation. And when we had that, a call with Cisco was set up, and they went sort of like, yeah, it's an old bug, and it will not be fixed. And the workaround is to just reset your media gateways every 466 days. So basically, if you look at this here, so the incident was in 2016, and here you see the field notice from Cisco, which is from 2009. So back then the issue was already 7 years old, and they basically had a tick counter that where the rollover wasn't handled gracefully, and then all sorts of funny things start to happen. So if you want to look at this field notice, there's like tons of examples of things that they attributed to this issue, and among one of those things is yeah, conversations sort of crossing over in that in these media gateways. So so they knew about this for a long time, and they let the customer work hard to just get this answer to do a reset every 466 days. Yeah, I mean, this is from the behavior of the vendor quite similar to the first story with Checkpoint. Um,
I
what do
guess
you think of this?
all of them will be somehow a bit similar. So vendors
Oh,
a bit. Let's see. And we have few cases ahead of us, so we can discuss that further on. But here, what I'm was completely happy the ability of a Qrystal operation to work fast and identify the issue. Just imagine that you have a tool, and there are many tools around. And our Qrystal allow the operation to very fast identify where the issue, enable the right recording job, and provide the information back to Cisco, so they will immediately mitigate and provide the information that the basically the service provider was after. And this was the interesting part. The fact that they not coming forth with the information is also clear to me, because they're waiting for, and this is always the case, that the vendor is always waiting for more information before he can start to act, because he don't want to volunteer a general information. Hey, this is the known bugs I have. Please read. So
well, I
typically, it's
mean,
not
the
working.
field notice was public. They could have just said,
Exactly.
you know, like
Exactly.
browse our database for your network element, for your media gateway solution, and see if anything fits, or have you tried rebooting every 466 days, and that would have saved a lot of work. But it's yeah, it's maybe, like you say, they need a reason to jump. Okay, coming to the next one, which we call ignorance is bliss, because this is the story of one of our customers who introduced a new IMS from Mavenir, and there were tons of issues, and basically Mavenir always reacted the same. They basically said, that there is no issue. So let's look into this. Like I said, they deployed a new IMS core in a private cloud, and the subscribers were successively moved from the old Ericsson platform to the new Mavenir system, and we were in the lucky position to monitor both systems, so we could really, we had a benchmark with the old system. And after a while, so sort of at halftime of this migration of subscribers, the subscribers started to complain, noticeably complain about silent and dropped calls, and our customer, the CSP, notified Mavenir, and asked for support and help, and actually the data provided by Mavenir and the responses did not match the ticket situation and the subscriber complaints, and Mavenir basically flat out denied any wrongdoing, and that's when this whole story was escalated to the CTO level, and we were officially asked to provide support and our expertise in looking into this. So we found a number of issues, and the first one was around silent calls, and basically a lot of the silent calls followed a distinctive pattern. So basically, we were monitoring this blue private cloud on the left and right, so on the access side and on the core side. And here is an example of one of those silent calls. So basically, the upper A party places a call, gets early media from the media gateway, which is SRC1, passed through the IMS cloud and transferred to the Volti subscriber. Then next up is, once the call is established, the B party, in this case a voice over Wi-Fi subscriber, sends SSRC2 towards the IMS private cloud to be transferred basically to the A party, and same with the SRC3 coming from the A party now that the call is established. But the this SRC, which is terminated at the media gateway and should lead to a new RTP stream being sent from the media gateway to the B party. Indeed, the media gateway does so, SRC4, but this RTP stream never pops out of the new IMS, out of the private cloud. So the data was clear. We had several examples like this where you see, things coming in and never going out. And but yeah, as I mentioned in the introduction, they just said it's not true. But luckily, after an update, some month later, the problem silently disappeared. So apparently, they took note of the issue. Next finding was that, remember, the subscribers mentioned a lot, many dropped calls, and that didn't quite match what, in relation to the Ericsson drop call ratio on the old IMS, and because Mavenir reported a drop call ratio of 0.1% based on their own measurements. So you have here on the right in the graph, you have the bars indicate the number of calls. So you see it's more or less even, same order of magnitude. So this is what I said about the 50-50% distribution at that stage. And then here the dotted red line here below, this is what Mavenir said is the drop call ratio. And basically what we measured was this dark blue and dark red line. The dark blue one is for the old Ericsson system, a bit lower than the red line for the new Mavenir system, which sort of corresponded to the ratio of tickets that we had or that the customer had for both these platforms. And so that related to the numbers, but the question was, why was there more dropped calls with the new with the Mavenir system? And basically we saw a lot more RTP timeouts, so a lot of reason headers explaining why a call was terminated due to RTP timeout. And a lot of these calls had one thing in common. The media used the wrong bearer. So if you're familiar with voice over LTE, you will know that the SIP signaling goes over the default bearer, or is exchanged over the default bearer between the PGW and the UE. And once a call is set up, or to set up a call, a dedicated bearer is set up, which is used exclusively for exchanging the RTP media between the two call parties. Now, what we saw was this sort of behavior. A dedicated bearer was set up, but actually the RTP was sent through the default bearer. and that basically caused network elements to declare an RTP timeout because they're looking at this end of the tunnel and nothing is coming out here. So again, I'm repeating myself, but again, any the issue in this case was confirmed, or like the wrong bearer was confirmed, but a user impact was denied. But again, this issue silently disappeared after the next update. So again, they it just took them a while to think about it. Let's put it this way. Um, Eyal, what do you think? How would have this story have ended without hard facts, hard
Yeah.
monitoring data?
Actually, here this reveals two parts of the story. So yes, hard facts are always, like I said at the beginning, they all important when you have a, a third party from our perspective vendor relationship. But here, this is also opening up another a very interesting discussion point is when it's come to a very important KPIs and let's say the amount of silence call you have, the drop call ratio, um, what you want is a number that will reflect the right user experience. And here, from Void Future perspective, we're benchmarking two aspects. One aspect is really the best practice knowledge, what we have, and some very unique technology to assess how many drop calls we have. But from the other aspect, we also benchmark our, let's say, right capabilities or right drop call ratio against drive test, for example. So we are able really to measure and provide information and benchmark this information against additional methods that the vendor would use. Here, in this type of cases, looking only on the vendor, which somehow he always wants to show that the drop call is the lowest possible, and not always he will have the same interest to show that the drop call ratio is the right, let's say, like the reality. This is a conflict of interest of the vendor itself and the service providers. And here, Void Future Qrystal is providing not only the hard evidence but also the right KPIs. And here, on top of the KPI that we were providing the right information, we also found severe issues with this, let's say, IMS performance. And these issues at the end was able to help the vendor itself, the Mavenir, to improve their capabilities. Without the data that we provided, they could not bring a good and very relatively fast resolution. So this was my take.
Actually, maybe we should have sent them a bill for our services.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe. Okay, maybe coming to the last story, and it's a very simple. I mean, on the edge of boring one. We only brought it because after this experience, after this story here with Mavenir, the the communication service provider, our customer, for the next update of the network, they decided to go for Ericsson back again, sort of. And we only brought this story because to show sort of that also Ericsson is not,
Yeah.
mm, yeah,
Just just
free of
imagine
fault,
how
let's say.
just imagine how much money it costs to a service provider to shift technologies. This is enormous expenditure.
Yeah, but yeah, well, I mean, I think this goes hand in hand also with the transition to voice over NR. But never mind. I mean, let's have a look at this final story, which is about Ericsson, very simple story. There was a power outage in a pub of a mobile network operator, which damaged the cooling system. And within a few hours, this cooling system was fixed and the site returned to operation. And this could have been the end of the story, but in the course of that power outage, or maybe because the data center got heated up too much, what really caused it, I don't know. But there was more damage done than just to the cooling because the operations team noticed a rise of impairments that started basically with the power outage. And subscribers also noticed and started complaining, and you see that basically here. You see the voice quality over time from that point of presence. And so basically the height of the bars is the number of minutes, and the coloring reflects the different MOS classes. So basically dark green and light green, that's anything better than MOS 4.0. And when it goes to the red, it's horrible quality. So basically thousands of calls suffered from, as you see down here on the right, from massive packet loss, all different forms, and all coming from that site affected by the power outage. And Ericsson was called in to inspect their media gateways, but couldn't find any issues. But using the data that we had, we could actually point them to a specific media gateway card which was causing the issues. And after it was replaced at 6 o'clock in the evening, service quality went back to normal. So like I said, a very simple and easy story, but it was interesting to see that also, like from the outside, with their means, with their tools, whatever kind of defect this was, couldn't be well required Qrystal basically to isolate the problem. And yeah, Eyal, I don't know what's your take on this.
Actually, I like this story a lot because this was there's a lot of aspect to this story. So one, there were a lot of calls running, and the complaints start to arrive. But the complaints were not because this is a very large media gateway. You cannot pinpoint what's the issue. From the other side, the Ericsson Media Gateway could not provide any useful information because, from his perspective, the operation is normal. He's accepting calls and he's terminating calls. Just if you flip to the slide before, you will see that one of our measurements we are looking at quit. So, for example, impairments to the end of the call. So we were able to see that the amount of calls that ended with impairments was raising quite dramatically. The main part of Qrystal was here that we immediately narrowed down the issue. We could say to Ericsson and to the vendor, and sorry, to the service provider, here is in the media gateway. Find what's the issue. At the end, they found that this is one single board out of 12, one single board out of 12 that was basically fried. But the chance of you as a customer to redial and get to the same board is one of 12. So you get to the issue. Without hard evidence, it would be very difficult to locate such an issue.
Definitely. Yeah. So just redial and be happy and all good. Okay. Any questions? Anything from the audience that we need to look deeper into? Actually, I'm quite happy that I made it until within 35
Yeah,
minutes. So Lilach was almost right.
correct. Yeah. Oh, it's good. I don't see any additional questions, so we will say then we wrap it up and say thank you very much for everybody to listening to us. Thank you very much, Michael, for providing this wonderful deck, and yeah, see you in our next webinar.
Hope so. See you soon. Bye bye.